psychologist, and one of my areas of research is crime in Jamaica. And the approach I'm taking, I'll just tell you what the thesis is. I'm saying that police military operations are good, they're a good first step, but we also need with that to tackle the conditions that generate criminals. Because if we keep going after the criminals and we're not tackling the conditions that generate the criminals, we'll be doing this for 1,000 years with no change. So that's the argument. So I'm first going to look at the homicide rate. And if you look at 1997 to 2005, you'll realize that per 100,000 of the population, homicide is just increasing from 1997. And I'm moving quickly. If you look from 2007 to 2015, 2016, 2017, the high year was 62.6 per 100,000 of the population in 2009. And by 2017, it was over 50. Very high for a small developing country. We kill more people in Jamaica than some countries at war. So we have a crime problem because we are all upset and worried about the high rate of homicides in the country, although violent crimes are going down. So how am I looking at solutions? When I hear the policymakers speak, they say all kinds of things. We have to get some new laws, we have to increase the size of the police force, and so on. But these things take time, and people are dying daily. I realize then that we need to think of solutions in terms of immediate solutions, short term, medium term, and long term. So we don't have the resources for a ZOSO. One ZOSO takes up 25% of the government, of the JDF resources. So we can't have 13 ZOSOs or 20, as the police commissioner have said publicly in response to my public utterances. Because you can't have 5 ZOSOs because one of them takes up 25% of the JDF resources. However, if you put the police military posts, regular policing presence is very important. The guys will move around. But when they are moving around, because they're in all the hotspots with the police military posts, they have less safe havens. And then you create mobile teams to track them down and use the anti-gang law. So police presence is security presence is very important, And ZOSO is well thought out. If we had the resources, the manpower, and the money and the equipment, ZOSOs would be perfect, but we don't. Police military posts, cheaper option. You don't have to pass any law. You don't have to entangle yourself with the opposition. Just put the police military posts in these areas. Short-term solutions. Again, national public education. We see the recent poll says that people are supporting police military operations. And I understand why. But really, I can't support the people in this regard because we have been doing this from 1962. And they have not worked. So why do we think they're going to work? You cannot sustain the police and use police and soldiers in this way for very long periods. It just doesn't make any sense. So you have to mobilize public support. So something being popular doesn't mean that you have mobilized public support. They don't think that it will work. But for something to work, you need to mobilize the church, civil society, opposition, everybody, because it's a national problem. And so we need to do that and have public education campaigns about it. Transparency guarantees. Normally in the past, when the representative from the JDF and the JSF, they are talking about ZOSOs, they are spin doctors, so people tend not to want to listen. So you need transparency guarantees where when your representatives speak, people can believe them. So you have to speak the truth and level with the people and say, this is the problem, this is what we are doing. And short term, you have to marshal the resources for your medium and long term solution in the short term period. Medium term now. And I must say I got this idea from my colleague, Dr. Beckford. And it's just one medium term solution. A socio-economic profile of each community. Right now, we don't know what the needs are in all the problem communities across the country. And I'm not talking an SDC profile. When Dr. Beckford and the rest of my colleagues go to the communities around the university to do socio-economic profiles, it takes a very long time, 6 months to a year, to do a serious study. So really, if we want to transform industry, we have to understand what is happening, and the people have to be at the center of this exercise. They have to be the voices. and we are capturing their experiences and saying, okay, this is what is happening and this is what we think can happen, and they will tell us what they think should happen as well. And while we're doing this, you're also planning for the long-term solutions as well, and marshalling the resources, getting the expertise and the manpower and the equipment and so on. So long-term solutions. So the police military post, I'm arguing, is the first part, the security element. But they have to be there for a very long period. Police, you have to be there for 5 or more years. The problems in your city are so bad, you have to solve it. It takes time. So you can't go for 6 months or 3 months or extend a ZOS or a state of emergency. That won't work. You want police presence, but the law-abiding citizens must not suffer from their presence. And that's why I go with police military post. So while they're holding it for several years, you're improving infrastructure, building roads, providing housing, make sure water supplies are working, fixing street light, collecting the garbage. So this infrastructural improvement, you can now employ the youngsters in the communities while you're improving. So you have to improve the conditions. So what I'm saying is, do all the police military operations you want, but we need to change the conditions that generate criminals. Thank you very much.